What's up, fellas?
All right, all right, all right. So we're live. There you go. Well, 21 with your mother. That's real funny. Funny guy. This is just supposed to be a record keeping type thing, all right? Just to keep ourselves honest. Thank you.
What? So you can take one of your horrendous bullshit predictions and wait till one of them comes true, and then be like, "See, I told you. I told you all along. I'm a genius. As bad as Kanye."
First of all, yes, that's absolutely correct. Second of all, is also to have some Ravens talk and have some fun. So there you go. Okay, guess we'll get things kicked off here. I'll start things off with eating my crow because Flacco is what 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions through 5 weeks. So Vincent wants me to eat some crow here because he's done pretty well. He's on pace for 5,000 yards and 32 touchdowns. So there you go. I'll eat my crow, Vincent. Does that make you happy? He's done better. I'm going to support Joe Flacco.
Are we taking wagers on whether he hits 5,000 yards and 32 touchdowns?
No, because I wouldn't take that bet. But if you, but if Vincent wants to put his name out there, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not taking that bet.
No, I hope he doesn't get to 5,000 yards, honestly.
Yeah,
well, maybe you could buy going on here an Outback dinner, Vincent, if he does.
5,000 yards and we're 6-10.
Yeah, that means the running game doesn't get going at all this year.
Yeah,
That's what that means.
Yeah, Alex Collins will have 300 yards in that scenario.
All right, so I guess we'll move on now. I ate my crow. Let's go to the first thing. We have 5 weeks. Obviously, last week we lost to the Browns, so if you want to get the Browns off your chest, feel free because we beat the Steelers. So that was pretty cool. But I guess we'll throw the first question around for his team in the last 5 weeks. What are the biggest things we need to improve? Al, I'll start with you.
I mean, the next 5 weeks are gonna show you if the Ravens are for real or if they're pretenders. The next 5 weeks they've got a tough lineup really in front of them. I mean, they're going to Tennessee next week. Then you come back for a hot New Orleans team after that. Then you go to Carolina, which is playing well this year, and then after that you get Pittsburgh and Cincinnati again. So the first thing is they've got to figure out the offense. They've got to figure out the offense here, and how the offense is gonna work. And then after the offense, I think it's gonna be a special teams thing. I think those are the two major points for me. It's the offense and it's the running game. They got to figure something out. So if it's to make a trade for somebody on offense, if it's to and I guess on offense, I guess it's the offensive line really. It's the offensive line. I think the running back suck right now. And I don't know if it's just the running backs are that bad or if it's the offensive line. I don't know which it is. Crabtree's got to catch the ball is like the third thing. I mean, how many drives he killed? He killed the win, first of all. The first half, the drop killed the drive. Special teams has got to get better. Hold on to the football for the punt returners. So Cyrus Jones is up next. So he's had some issues with drops. So we'll see how he does. He does back there. And the pass rushers have got to get a little more pressure. I thought they did a good job against Baker Mayfield last week. They just got to get home on some of these that they were close on. And I think they should be okay. I mean, I don't know how to balance this offensive attack because they got some big chunk runs. The 17-yarder getting called back hurts. I think they averaged 4 yards a carry, but I think most of the yards came on 4 runs last week. So I think all in all, it's the keys to this are the offense has got to play better. I mean, Dean Pease knows this group, so next week should be interesting. And then you get 2 divisional games as well. if they can make it through that pretty well, I think they should be okay.
All right, I'll throw it over to Bill. What do we need to improve here in the last puppies? What have you seen that we need to improve?
Well, I mean, there are a number of things we can improve. I think that the special teams is a real problem. If we keep having field goals blocked and like 10 men on the field and punt coverage, like we're gonna give up big plays, period. We're gonna give up big plays. And our special teams on the surface should be the strength or one of the strengths of our team. I mean, Tucker is unstoppable basically unless the other guy gets a hand in the way. And then Cook is, he's extremely reliable, especially at pinning people deep. So I mean, I like our special team. I don't know. I don't know if Morgan Cox has some kind of a problem. There have been a couple of weird snaps. I can't remember which game it was, but Cook handled a couple of high snaps and was able to get him down for the field goal trot. But so I don't know if there's an issue with Cox or not, but, whatever. Special teams need to fix on it. It's not Morgan Cox's fault. We have 10 guys on the field on punt coverage. So, I don't know. We'll see about that. But, just like Al said, I don't know if putting Orlando Brown at right tackle would make any difference. Obviously, the coaching staff knows a lot more than me, but he's a pretty good run blocker and even better pass blocker. Really, at this stage, he's more of a finesse type guy, wall off blocker, but. He's enormous. He's enormous. I mean, just him running down the field and sort of falling in guys' ways is going to open up a lot of stuff for the running game. So, I mean, this is beating a dead horse, although we haven't had that many podcasts. But if I was a coach, he'd already be playing right tackle. And I don't know who would be playing center, whether it would be Hurst or Lewis or Skura, but James Hurst would not be playing right tackle if I was the coach of this team right now. So I don't know if they're going to make a move. I doubt it. It feels like that's a no. But I think it's easy to say, well, they're averaging 4 yards a carry, so nothing needs to change or whatever like that. But how much better would they be if Alex Lewis didn't have to cover for Skura, if Yanda didn't have to cover for Skura and Hurst? Like this last game, there were two different occasions, and I think there might have been a third one, but there were two definitely, where Marshall Yanda was the one that made the tackle because he was fucking carrying Alex Collins down the field. And like Yanda being next to those two guys covers a lot of warts. If Yanda didn't have to pay so much attention to the right tackle spot, it might help cover Skura a little bit more up the middle. If Lewis and Yanda could sort of tag team covering for Skura's deficiencies in the lateral movement department, I think it would go a long way towards helping. I don't know, but we'll see. But those are the two things. As far as I'm concerned, the defense is playing great. I love what they're doing with Anthony Levine at the dime backer spot. Like he played a lot of snaps in place of Young and Peanut being on the field as a second middle linebacker. Anthony Levine has been playing lights out as a dime linebacker, safety guy in those packages. So I like what the defense is doing. Don't change a thing. Keep it the same.
All right, Vince?
Yeah, great call on Levine. He's been a real difference maker this year as a dime. Real difference maker. So improvements, right? So starting, I mean, I'll go all three phases. Obviously, I think at this point, the defense has been more consistent than the offense. But I'll start with the offense. To me, it's obvious you got to fix the run game. There's just not enough explosive plays. There's just not enough consistent yardage on the ground. And everything that I'm seeing, and it's backed up with some of the PFF stuff, it's really the interior line run blocking, and it's Skura and it's Alex Lewis too, to be honest. He's not playing that well. And I can see a scenario after the bye if we're still stagnant in the run game. I actually think it could be Orlando Brown inserted at right tackle. Hurst kicks over to left guard, and Lewis might take a seat. I think we've seen enough from Skura in terms of just him coordinating the line, and he's held up well enough for me that I mean, it's obvious we don't have another choice. I mean, we signed a center, I think, but I was like veteran depth. Obviously, Alex Lewis did not even get much time, not even a half a look. We talked about it during camp. So he is not an option at center. And he's just not playing well enough, I don't think. I mean, I think he's been getting beat too much, not enough push in the run game. And it's really bogged down our offense to a degree because you need that run game to sustain you, especially in games like the Cleveland game on the road, in an ugly game. That's one where you need an effective running game there. Our red zone offense was tremendous until the Cleveland game. Obviously, hopefully we get that cleaned up. I mean, really, that was the difference in the game. There was, we had over 400 yards of offense, 25 first downs. I mean, this is not like and part of the optimism is, yeah, it might have felt like the Ravens stinker of old, but it didn't necessarily look like it if you actually broke it down. I mean, we were moving the ball. We just would bog down. I mean, I remember games back in the Jacksonville where we had like 100 yards of total offense and scored 9 points. I mean, it was not that level of offensive ineptitude. It was just not stupid penalties. Obviously, Crabtree's dropped. I mean, I saw on Twitter today we have the most drops in the league, 16. So doesn't matter what wide receivers, we just drop passes. I don't get it at this point. Crabtree has half of them, 8. So that's just unacceptable. I think other than that, you got to get the run game going. I think I've seen enough wiggle from Alex Collins that I really think we're just not giving him the lanes. But, he's on notice, though. If he puts the ball on the ground again, we're in deep trouble, and we got to find something quick. So that's my concerns on the offense. Special teams, I mean, Bill nailed it. I mean, it's atrocious. 3 block kicks in 5 weeks. I mean, come on. That is unacceptable. There is just no two ways around that. So we got to clean that up. Obviously, Tucker and Cook do their thing. Defense, not much from an improvement. I mean, I think we got to definitely get the pass rush home a little more, but I think that's a function of what teams are trying to do against us more than anything. We definitely got to get home a little bit. I think the defense obviously had the meltdown without C.J. Mosley. I saw this today. We had 4. We obviously lost Mosley, and we gave up 4 touchdowns against the Bengals when he wasn't on the field, and we've only given up 4 the entire rest of the season with him. So the defense is pretty well rolling. I mean, you still have the draw, the late give up there at the end, but that game was just a mess and back and forth, and we had so many chances on offense. I can't possibly blame the defense for that. So that's it for me.
All right. Guess it's my turn. You guys already hit on special teams. I think John Harbaugh will improve that just through discipline. He's a special teams guy. He takes a lot of pride in that area. So I'm pretty sure they're getting yelled at and getting talked to. I think offensive line, you're not going to be able to fix this offensive line necessarily. So if you're Marty Morningwig, if you're John Harbaugh, I think the best thing you can do is take the offensive line, use the strengths with it. If you remember New England, they didn't have a very good offensive line. They couldn't really run the football too much. So get the Buck Allen, get the Lance Turner, put those guys out there, get them in the flats, do the short run passing game to set up the run game. I think Joe Flacco actually could excel at that because he likes his check downs, but he could excel at that. Offensively, I'll ask this question next, but they can make some improvements, make some adjustments. They can do some things with the wide receivers. I think the tight ends have showed up big time for us so far. So overall, I think the biggest improvement is, and I think they're starting to see it, put Buck Allen, put Turner out there, get them in a shorting passing game to get the run game going. All right, next question. More Chris Moore or more Crabtree? Just saying, would you get Chris Moore more in the field over Michael Crabtree? And Vince, I'll start with you.
I really like this one. Good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think you necessarily make it as if we're benching Crabtree. I don't think that's, where we want to go with this. But he can definitely mix in a lot more than he is right now. And it'll just keep him fresh anyway. And he makes plays every time he's out there. So, I mean, for me, I think this is a no-brainer to work him in more, especially if Crabtree drops another one early. Maybe it's a send a message time. But, I think he can just more generally be worked in even without it being like a Crabtree benching.
Okay. Bill? You want more Chris Moore or less Crabtree? Or more Crabtree, less Moore?
I'm not really sure I need them to be tied to one another. I think we keep Crabtree on the field. I mean, yeah, he's got to stop dropping the ball. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, there's a reason he keeps throwing it to him. He's open. He hit him in both hands in the back of the end zone. Dude, we just need him to fucking catch it. That's all. I mean, he's open, and the pass hit him in both hands. So I like that. I just need you to come down with it. So, I'm not sure I'm taking Crabtree off the field to put more on it, but I'd like to see more on more. I mean, I think I know what Max Williams is. I think I know what Nick Boyle is. Obviously Mark Andrews has done well so far, and we definitely need to see what we have in Hurst. But I'm not sure if I don't forsake a handful of snaps for Williams and Boyle and get more on the field more. I mean, I don't know really who Marty Mornhinweg is. And I'm not sure Marty Mornhinweg really knows who Marty Mornhinweg is either. He doesn't – I mean, he's got a running game and he's not using it. Now, obviously, we have to block better and we've got to get holes bigger. He's not going to keep sending Buck Allen with a full set of a full head of steam into the back of, James Hurst on the right edge. But, we have running backs that we know can do the job because we've seen them do it. So Marty needs to stay with the run a little bit more, even when it's not necessarily going gangbusters. And from my perspective, I mean, I'm on the record. I love Lamar Jackson. I want him on the field more, and I want him playing quarterback more. But he's got to have a threat to throw the ball or keep him off the field. If the only thing he's going to do is the run pass, the pass option, the run option, I'm not sure that's the threat that we need. He can get a couple plays here and there, but we've got to let him throw the ball eventually, or we're just playing offense with 10 people, and I don't like that. So, because Flacco split out wide when he just stands there is not going to work. So, I'm not saying let's send Flacco out in routes because that's not the answer. But if they're going to bring up Lamar Jackson on the field, just take Flacco off the field. He's already running over to the sidelines. Just take 2 more steps and get Chris Moore on the field instead. So we'll see. We'll see.
So that answer sounded like more, less Crabtree.
No, I think more and the same amount of Crabtree. Just get more on the field more.
All right. Sounds like more. All right, Al. Hi, Anna.
All right. So with the wide receivers, I mean, I don't think that you need Chris Moore to necessarily replace Michael Crabtree in the offense. I think in some of these situations, they just need to get Willie Snead more involved. I mean, I think they threw to him 5 times on Sunday, and he caught the ball 4 times. And he had similar stats in the Steelers game the week before. I think out of his targets, I mean, he on average maybe gets targeted 5-6 times. And usually he only misses on one of those targets, so it could just be the pass. But it's so you're connecting with Willie Snead when he gets the ball, and he's shown that he can be a chain mover. I just feel like they need to give him an opportunity with that slant pass that seems to be so predictable, and they call that slant to Crabtree 3-4 times a week now. I think we've seen it. So I think the corners are jumping it when they see Crabtree, and Crabtree just can't hold on to the ball when he's getting hit right when the ball gets there. So I think more Willie Snead, because teams have sniffed out John Brown at this point. So I mean teams are double covering. They're putting the safety over the top on John Brown. And I don't think he's gonna beat as many teams the way he beat Pittsburgh down the field, because you just didn't see it necessarily in this Cleveland game, in the Cleveland game this week. I mean, John Brown is still a great weapon. I mean, you mentioned it. The tight ends are doing a solid job as well. You've got to keep Crabtree out there, unfortunately, and let him get it. So you're paying the guy a lot of money, and I like Chris Moore, but I still think Crabtree, he's got it in him. He's a better receiver than that. Than what he's shown through these first 5 games. So hopefully Crabtree can turn it around. That's what you want. If you got to go to Chris Moore, I think that's going to be a bad situation. So hopefully Crabtree can turn it around. But give Willie Snead the ball. Give Willie Snead the ball a little more is my thought. And figure out a way to balance it out with the run. I mean, you can't continue to give Alex Collins the ball 11, 12 times a game. And I don't know, and I think this is the new way of the NFL. I mean, running backs just don't get the 20 touches, but I feel like it's the same thing we just saw with James Conner. Pittsburgh gave him the ball 20 times, and he rips off 100 yards. Collins, we gave the ball 12 for 59 yards. I think that 19-yarder was the first run. And while he's going to get stuffed some of the time, when he rips that big one, that's the only way the offensive line is going to get some confidence in the running game. So you've got to keep at it and hope this guy shows you he can break one, because he's shown the ability to have a big game. I mean, the Pittsburgh game last year was a huge game for him. He's shown he's got some wiggle. He can break some tackles. Again, like I think Vince said, as long as he holds on to the football. And that'll help the passing game too, because we run a lot of play action. But a more effective running game, of course, will help that out. And the other thing for Marty Mornhinweg is, I think he's just too predictable in running situations. You can tell when they're going to run, and can they stop with this? What'll also help the passing game is stop with this 5 receiver wide in whatever in goal situations. We threw the interception on that last week. It doesn't leave anything to the imagination. The offensive line is playing the pass. Joe Flacco is not sneaking the ball into the end zone like I think it was Drew Brees did the other night. Flacco's not sneaking the ball into the end zone from there. Teams know that. So be a little more. You got to have a little more creativity in the passing game too. I just don't think it was there this week. But I mean, you get Tennessee. Hopefully they can be a little more creative. Pease knows what to expect, but Marty and John know what to expect from Dean Pease's defense as well. So maybe that'll help jumpstart them for the Saints game, because they're gonna have their hands full with Drew Brees in the coming weeks. Granted, it's here in Baltimore, and Drew Brees doesn't play as well outside of that dome. But to fix the pass, just get Willie Snead a little more involved. You still got to throw the ball to Crabtree though.
Sounds like your Crabtree, more Crabtree, less more.
I mean, you paid him, so we all know how that goes.
You want to win?
You do, and I think Crabtree at the end of the day, if Crabtree's catching the ball, is a better wide receiver than Chris.
Right. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean,
it's just, it's football. It's just a confidence thing. I think when Crabtree gets those 2-3 drops, he's losing his confidence. He's just got to get it back And I think Marty's got to figure out an easy way to get the ball in his hands outside of that slant that everybody's seen 50 million times already this year. I think Flacco's thrown it to him 20 times through the first 5 games.
Let me jump in on that one real quick. Let me jump in on that.
Okay.
I agree that they need to do different things with Crabtree and the same routes and all that stuff. But the thing of it is Crabtree needs to win on that route because, defenses saw uncountless examples of Derek Mason running that 7-yard hitch. And he would catch that ball right there, and he'd still catch it every time. It was undefensible because he was so good at running it. That's Crabtree's bread and butter. He's just got to win, and he's got to stop dropping the ball.
Crabtree's no Derek Mason. Derek Mason was a Hall of Famer, but Derek Mason was a much better, much more polished wide receiver than Michael Crabtree.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying if you have like a bread and butter route, if you're Anquan Bolden, you know that's going to come to you in that route. That is Crabtree's route. He's like, not only do they not need to stop throwing it to him, he just needs to run it better. He needs to run it better and needs to catch the ball when they throw it to him because that's where Crabtree makes his money. Is that slant, is that little hitch, and is in the red zone. That's why we paid Crabtree. So if he can't run that route, we got nothing. We might as well put more on the field. So I want to see him do it. I don't want to see him stop throwing it to him. I want to see him throw it more, and I want to see him start to fight his ass off to get the inside positioning on that route and get that ball, snatch it out of the air, and tuck it away. Stop dropping it. Stop letting it go through your hands. Stop tipping it up in the air so that the other team can intercept it. Like, be a professional. We paid you professional money. I want professional results.
I'm with you.
All right.
No argument.
Let me throw some things your way. I'll give my quick input. I do like Crabtree, but I would probably play a little bit more Chris Moore. I think he's starting to show up. He wants the job. When he gets on the field, he's doing things. So I say more Chris Moore, a little bit less on the Crabtree. Let Crabtree, get some confidence back. But let me throw these targets out at you from the Browns game. Ravens-Brown. Crabtree had 12 targets, caught 6. John Brown had 14 targets, caught 4. Willie Snead had 7 targets and caught 5. And Allen had 8 targets and caught 6 passes. Those are the numbers there. So is Joe Flacco maybe throwing it too many times to Crabtree Brown, and that's bringing some of those more targets out towards Willie Snead, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, Max Williams, a little bit more? What do you guys think? Should the targets be changed from Joe Flacco? So I'll throw it out to Vince first.
It's hard to say from one game with that. It's hard to draw many conclusions from that. Obviously, they did a lot to take away John Brown. I thought that was one of the big difference makers. They really keyed on him. And the Browns don't have a terrible defense. And Denzel Ward's a player. They got some guys back there now. But yeah, it's hard to make conclusions from one set of targets. Obviously, Brown was too much. I think Al brought this up earlier. I do think Willie Snead needs to get more involved. And work in that middle of the field, moving the chains, being that outlet. I think that needs to be built in more as him being more of the outlets over, even checking it down to Buck Allen. Even Willie should be able to soak up a few of those too. So, and whether it's just quick hitches or something just to keep him close to the line of scrimmage and be that bailout. But it's hard to draw conclusions from one game, but yeah, I do agree. Willie Snead a little bit more. John Brown, I get it. So, he's been our number one receiver of, and really everything everything I was hoping he could be. And, so, I don't think one bad game, you go away from that. I do think it's going to be harder for him to get off like he did. I think to Al's earlier point, but I think at the end of the day, they need to work some of the more intermediate stuff with him a little bit more. Get some of that going, and then take the top off. I think if you're just going straight, I think at this point the jig is up on him just being the deep threat. We got to get him more involved, in the intermediate and short stuff, and kind of set that up a little bit better. But I don't think you go away from what you've been doing. I just think we could have executed a little bit better, all around in the Cleveland game. I mean, and it starts with Joe, and obviously, the Crabtree drops, but I think you stay the course. I like what I've seen the other weeks, and really, if they got in the end zone a couple times, in the red zone, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think stay the course.
Well, I mean to say, half the throws that Flacco made were to Crabtree or John Brown. They got 26 targets out of the 52 they threw. So my question, let me just bounce it back to you for a second. Should he spread his targets around more? That's what I'm trying to say. More tight ends.
On paper, absolutely. I mean, he definitely should have. I mean, I don't, but it's hard to say without looking at it play by play. But I mean, it's easy to look at it there and say, yeah, I mean, he should have spread it around more. But those are our top two guys. So I mean, how many targets? I mean, the tight end's not getting enough targets is weird. Actually, I haven't even watched the film yet or watched this back. I probably need to watch this game back again. But
I'll throw it out for you.
The first time around, I just couldn't stomach it.
Well, three targets to Andrews, 2 targets to Nick Boyle, 2 targets to Max Williams, 2 targets to Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, so I mean, 8 tight end target, or 10 tight end. No, 3, 2, 2. Yeah, 9.
4 tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little too much, obviously, but ultimately, I'm not worried about targets. I'm worried about execution.
Yep.
All right, Al, I'll throw it to you next. Should Joe Flacco be spreading those targets out more, considering, 57 passes, 26 went to Crabtree and Brown, and that's went to the tight ends, Snead and the other guys?
I mean, theoretically, yeah. I mean, I think the tight ends are all averaging over 10 yards a catch. So yeah, I'd like to see them use the tight ends more, and hopefully with Hayden Hurst coming back, the intent is to put him and Mark Andrews, who's really been a pleasant surprise, onto the field together a little more. Because I think they have a little more accurate accountability than what Max Williams does. But I mean, these receivers can make plays. I mean, all of the things that we've seen from John Brown. I mean, he's the leading receiver on the team. I think he's got 360, 370 yards so far through 5 games. So I mean, he's on pace to be 1,000-yard receiver for you this year. So you've got to get the ball to John Brown. So it's too why Flacco's throwing it to him, because he's a big play waiting to happen. So you've got to take your shots down the field. I mean, some of those shots are just to keep the defense honest, and then some of those shots are in today's NFL. You got to take those shots hoping you get a pass interference call, or something like that gives you a big 30, 40-yard penalty as well.
Rob, you got to mute your microphone or turn that TV off or something, man. It's coming through your microphone from Al. Like, I'm hearing half of what Al's saying because whatever distortion is in your background. Sorry.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, good call.
So to summarize that, I'll say you've got to throw John Brown the football. I mean, he's going to be the first 1,000-yard receiver they've had in a while. And based on how he's pacing so far. So as long as he stays healthy, I mean, he's going to have an 1,100-yard season roughly for the Ravens this year. he's the guy that can truly make a play. And I mean, we've seen what Crabtree can do down in the red zone in terms of scoring touchdowns. So while the drops have been an issue for him, I mean, he's been in the top 5 in the NFL over the last 4 years in touchdowns in the red zone as well. So I like our tight end, so I'm not opposed to getting them the football if it's gonna win the Ravens more games. But I think you've only got so much football to go around, and between throwing the ball to the 3 new receivers who have all played well outside of the Crabtree drops, to get the ball to Hayden Hurst, to get the ball to Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has played well. We don't really know what Hayden Hurst is going to be just yet, but Mark Andrews has played the best, I think, out of the tight end group so far. And then you still want to get Buck Allen and Alex Collins some balls out of the backfield as well. It's tough to spread the targets around. I think Joe's kind of going to the guys he think is going to be able to step up and make a play to keep the drive going for him, and unfortunately, it just hasn't happened. And I think Bill said it the best. We're paying Crabtree big time money. Make a big time play.
All right. Well, let me kind of go back to the Steelers game. There were 41 targets. John Brown 7, Snead 7, Crabtree 8, Boyle 5, Max Williams 5. That was a much more spread target offense. So I think if you're looking at this film review from the last game, you're going to have to look and go, hey, look, in the Steelers game, we threw the football to more guys, and you threw at them more than what you did in this game. And I think that's the takeaway for Joe Flacco to do what he did in the Steelers game. Throw it around more, get it more to his tight ends.
See, Rob, I think that's the circumstances of the game. I mean, they were in control and had the momentum most of that Steelers game. I think in the Browns game, they were trying to gain some momentum. So when you're trying to do that, you're trying to get the ball to your playmakers. And, I mean, John Brown, 14 targets. He's the biggest playmaker they have on that offense. So you got to try to, unfortunately, force the ball into him and hope he can make a play, because that one play was what they needed to turn the momentum of the game.
I understand that, but they weren't trying to play catch up. They weren't trying to, you know what I mean? The game was tied during overtime. It was not playing catch up. I would expect that we were behind a lot more of that, but this game, it was basically we're tied throughout the whole game. I think he could spread the football around a little more. I think he gets – sometimes he just, hey, it's John Brown. Let me get to John Brown to make a play. Let me get it to Michael Crabtree to make that play, rather than did win the Steelers game is look who's open and do that.
I don't disagree with you.
All right. I'll move on to the next one.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was just, while you all were talking, I was looking up to see what the target distribution was across, like, sort of not league wide, but division wide anyway. And I'm not sure that the target distribution is not better for us than it is for a lot of other teams. Now, obviously, we don't have the star wide receivers that the other teams in our division do, so they're going to gobble up targets some just because they've got, Antonio Brown and AJ Green. But but our top 2 targets, Brown and Crabtree, have 90 out of a total of 190 targets. So 90 of 190. AJ Green and Tyler Boyd, the top 2 targets for Cincinnati, have 86 of 187. So, I mean, it's pretty much on the same target. Pittsburgh is even worse. Obviously, the fact that they have Brown and Smith-Schuster rather. Juju and AB have 119 out of 168 for Big Ben. So, they're, obviously that's even more slanted in terms of one versus, or 2 guys versus the rest of the team. But I actually think, maybe not in this particular game. I actually think that Flacco's done a great job of throwing it around. In one of the games, he had 11 different guys had a catch, I think it was. But yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, Flacco's doing a fine job. Is that the problem? I think part of the problem is Morningweg. I'm not. I mean, Mark. I can't shit all over the guy. He's a professional coach. He has a certain level of expertise. I understand that I don't get. But the guy, just on at first blush, the first glance, he just seems like the kind of guy that gets the big play to Brown. I get a huge play to John Brown, and this is what Morningwig. It seems to me as though Morningwig is like this. Hey, that worked. I got a good play to John Brown there. I should keep throwing that play. I should keep throwing it because it worked. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep throwing that play, and it worked that one time. It's going to keep doing it, and it's going to work every time. And then he's like, oh, it's not working anymore. And then, like, the offense just shits the bed. Like, he can't shift gears. Like, the running game kind of, like, does its thing and fits and starts. Let's sprinkle in a little bit of Lamar Jackson. It just doesn't seem like he has any idea what he's really doing. It's like, ooh, we got that one 17-yard run that one time when I put Lamar Jackson on the field. Let's keep running that same play and not let him do anything else. And we're going to keep getting 17 yards. Like, I don't know. Morningwig doesn't seem like the kind of guy that can make in-game adjustments and go with the flow and stick with the running game when it's not necessarily grinding it out great. Like offense is ebbs and flows, man. Like, yeah, sometimes Alex Collins is going to get 1 yard. I bet you if you go back over the history of great running backs and looked as a percentage of carries, how many of those, like what percentage of their carries went for 1 yard, I bet you it's a big percentage, bigger than most people would guess. And that's just the way it goes. You got to keep feeding the beast. If you want to run the ball, you got to keep giving it, because those guys, when you get into the late third quarter and early fourth quarter and late fourth quarter and overtime, that's when the hammer hits the nail, man. You keep coming at like a 230-pound back coming downhill all game long. You don't want to tackle that in the fourth quarter. Those holes get bigger. The gains in the ones that were 1 yard are now 3. The ones that were 5 yards are now 8, and the ones that were 8 go for a touchdown. That's football. So if you want the running game to work, keep running it and put Orlando Brown on the field.
All right. Well, let me throw the question out here. Should the Ravens trade Jimmy Smith? And if your answer is yes, who are you trading him to, or who are you trying to get? And I'll start off with Al. So if you could trade Jimmy Smith, or if he's on the trade block,
I won't be
trade him
long
for?
with this. You won't be long with this answer. I mean, absolutely not. I mean, I think we all talked all summer long about the depth in the Ravens secondary, and where are we at with that now? I mean, how many guys are on IR? I mean, we thought Stanley Jean-Baptiste was a nice bright spot in the offseason. IR. Maurice Kennedy came on last year, had a great offseason, played well in the preseason. IR. Anthony Averett played okay in the preseason. Looked like he was going to be able to contribute a little bit. Hasn't played for the last 2 weeks. I want to say 3 weeks now. So really your healthy corners right now are Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Brandon Carr, and Tavon Young. And now you add Cyrus Jones to the mix. So you can't trade Jimmy Smith right now. So even if you wanted to, you don't have the luxury to trade Jimmy Smith at this point. To me, the only thing that you could trade for realistically, even I think that would help this team right now, is maybe a running back. And I think it's the names that people have already floated out there: Shady McCoy and Mark Ingram down in New Orleans. I mean, because Buffalo's not getting any better this year, and they've got Shady under contract through next year. So for them, free up the money, sign somebody else in the offseason. In New Orleans, it's obvious you've got Alvin Kamara down there. Ingram's on the last year of his deal, and the Ravens are competitive this year and look like a playoff team. So would you bring a guy like him in who can catch the ball out of the backfield and is a solid runner in between the tackles? But the easy answer, absolutely not. You can't trade Jimmy Smith, because who are you going to trot out there? You'll have three healthy corners left, because I don't think Cyrus Jones has played a snap at corner since he's been in the NFL.
All right. Vince, if you could trade Jimmy Smith on the trading block, who would you trade him for, and or who would you try to get in return, if you think he should be traded? Vince there? I don't think Vince is there. All right. We'll go with Bill.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm talking on mute. Hold on.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll go back to Vincent.
So no, absolutely, I'm not trading Jimmy Smith. I mean, Al hit on it. You know, he also just when he's fully there, he makes us a way better defense. I mean, you know, Brandon Carr has played very solid football. We are very lucky to have somebody like Brandon Carr as a number 3 cornerback. I mean, I think that is, you know, better than most twos. And, you know, in a pinch, he is great to come in and he can even start. No problem. No problem at all. And he'll definitely mix in. And I think we'll, you know, we've been doing that kind of rotation anyway to get all 3. I mean, and I would expect that to continue. I mean, I think Jimmy will end up, you know, being the guy again. But you know, I think it's good to rotate them in and keep them fresh at times. And, you know, so I think that you can never have too many corners. Can't never have, you know, I mean, that is one of the strengths, even with all the injuries. So, you know, I don't think you do that for a running back. I mean, that would be the one everyone says, but I just don't see that position as that critical of a need to basically weaken our secondary and really weaken our defense.
All right, hit it up, Bill. You gonna trade Jimmy Smith?
No, I'm definitely not trading Smith. But if I was gonna trade him, I mean, I don't know. Is Ryan Jensen available from the Buccaneers? but you know, no, I'm not going to trade him for all the reasons everybody said. Like you can't give up a corner that can play. Like I at the end of the season, I don't even consider giving him any kind of contract, even a 1-year, 5-year. Like I don't give him anything. Jimmy Smith's not on this team next year because you can't count on him to stay out of the knucklehead stuff, and you can't count on him to stay healthy. And so, sorry, he's not on my team next year. But for now, he is on my team, and I'm going to try to get as many snaps of him as I can. Like I'm going to try to keep Carr and Smith rotating, and I just keep them on a carousel. You know, Carr and Smith, you know, put them out there. You know, if they have to run 25 yards downfield, I bring the other one on. If the next play they have to run 10 yards downfield, I bring the other one. You know, I just keep on flopping them out, whatever the defense calls for. But I keep Marlon Humphrey on the field. I keep Tavon Young on the field, and just hope that both, you know, that all 4 of those guys can stay healthy because we don't have anything else in the cupboard. Cyrus Jones, I think, is an interesting return man, and I thought he was a good corner at Alabama. So, you know, I'm not sure that he won't play a little bit, or well, I mean, he hasn't played at all. But you know, if he had to play, I wouldn't be surprised to be surprised at how well he played in our defense, because we talked about it with Averett. I mean, part of the reason that I was excited about Anthony Averett is because Marlon Humphrey can give him a 1-to-1 translation on the defense. Hey, we played this defense, whatever it was at Alabama, blah, 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 Tiger Cat, whatever. Yeah, now here it's, you know, Raven Fire Zone, like same exact coverage, just a different name. And he can do exactly the same thing for Cyrus Jones because they've been running that same defense at Bama since Jones was there. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Cyrus Jones is a plus pickup because I think he is a dangerous return man. Although I might give Janarian Grant one more shot at it. He makes me nervous with the fumbling, but he is electric with the ball in his hands. So I probably give Grant one more shot at it. But I'm happy that we were able to get Cyrus Jones back in the organization. I was irritated when New England stole him back from us after we got him the first time. So no trade.
All right. Yeah, I think actually I would trade Jimmy Smith for a center. I would agree with you 100% there. If we could get like a top center, I would trade Jimmy Smith for a top center.
We had a top center. He played for our team last year. He signed a contract with the Buccaneers because we refused to do so.
Yes, I know. What I'm trying to say to you is I would trade Jimmy Smith for a center.
If I could turn back time.
That's correct.
But I can't turn back time.
back in back in turn back time. But no, I would trade him for a center. I think if you can help Flacco with a better offensive line, that makes him a better passer, obviously, and we can get the run game going. So in my opinion, yeah, I trade Jimmy Smith.
All
yes.
right.
So yes.
Let's come back to reality. First of all, there's no center in this league that's coming in, learning a new offense, learning all the line calls on the fly in the
Ryan Jensen.
in the middle of the season. The Bucs overpaid for Ryan Jensen. So Ryan Jensen, I'm sorry. I think Ryan Jensen is a mauler. He was tough. He had that nasty attitude. But Ryan Jensen isn't worth the money that the Bucs paid to him. So no, I wouldn't want Ryan Jensen back either. I think they have some pieces on this line, but I think we already mentioned it. They need to reshuffle this line. Orlando Brown showed you already that he can push guys off of the line of scrimmage. The problem is Alex Lewis on that left side and Matt Skura are getting pushed into the backfield consistently. So James Hurst played serviceable on that left side last year. So give him another shot and let Orlando Brown come in and play right tackle. And at least you solve one of the issues, which is the Alex Lewis issue. I mean, I think everybody wanted Alex Lewis to be great. He had a good rookie season along with Ronnie Stanley, but he just doesn't have it right now. And I don't know if it's the injuries or whatever it is, but you got to be realistic. You're not bringing in a center to come in. Jimmy Smith, when he is healthy, is a top flight cornerback in this league, and you got him for $9 million this year and $9.5 million next year. I'm not trading that because you could have some free agent money, and who are you going to go get? Who are you going to go get next year to replace Jimmy Smith? Because you don't have the depth. So are you going to get draft? Are you going to get Marcus Peters?
I didn't even realize that we had Smith one more year. I thought this was his last year. I didn't even realize we had him one more.
You've got him one more year. I mean, who are you going to get? Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters is going to get 15, 16 million from some team in free agency next year, twice what Jimmy Smith is making. Yeah, you can say the draft, but the problem is the way that the rules are in the NFL today. You need some corners in the secondary with experience. Brandon Carr is going to probably be done here next year. So you're going to be relying on Marlon Humphrey, who I think is playing well, Anthony Averett, Tavon Young. I don't know what the deal is with Jalen Hill and if he's ever going to come off the pup and return to the guy we saw last year in the preseason that everybody loved. Who knows? But I'm keeping Jimmy Smith for the next 2 years on this roster.
All right, anyone else?
Draft the center.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, we are, and the stats bear it out, we are a much better defense with Jimmy on the field. And, I want to see how the rest of his season goes. I think because it's going into his last year, we can save a pretty good chunk of change off the cap if we cut him loose. So, to me, this is put up or shut up time for Jimmy at this point. So he's going to get himself ready. He played some. I mean, I think Harbaugh was generally pleased with how, he came back. But the bottom line is we didn't have to play him 80, 60 snaps right away. So I think it was good that we didn't do that. We'll ramp him up. But after the ramp up, I think he needs to step up, be that corner that he was, most of last year before the injury, and be that number one corner the rest of the season and stay healthy, be available every week. And, if he does that, then yeah, I want him on this roster. I mean, I think we're a much better defense with him. And, it would be, you cannot get rid of corners, but he needs to prove it this year. If he comes up with another hamstring pull and misses 2 games or, something else happens, then no, at the end of the season, I think we can move on because I do like some of the depth. I mean, Kennedy will be back. I think he can be a player. We talked about, Everett. I think he can be a player. You have some young guys. I mean, I think obviously Marlon and Tavon you can build around. Carr, I got to check his contract situation. I think we have him technically maybe to another roster bonus or something, but he could be gone. But if not, he's great insurance. So, I don't. To me, Jimmy has to prove it, and then we'll see about next year. But um, I'm definitely not trading him, and I hope he can show us that he can string together the rest of the season, and then because if he does that, then we will be that much better of a defense.
Yeah, and we do have. I mean, a Carr is still under contract. I think they can. I think they can release Carr and save the whole deal. Um, and I think they'll be in the same position that they were this year, where they'll get back five. I think it was like $5.5 million if they cut him. So they've got Carr under contract for 2 more seasons.
I was trying to look it up. I think Carr is under contract a little bit longer.
Yeah, that deal he signed last year was a 4-year, $24 million deal.
For some reason, it's saying John Brown is an unrestricted free agent next year.
He is.
That deal was a 1-year deal.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, he's one. I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes.
He hasn't played a full season in a while, so I think you've got to see if he can get through the season first. I think that's why the market was cold on John Brown, because he didn't play.
Well, let me kind of throw that out there because Suggs is a free agent. Brown, C.J. Mosley, Max Williams, Zadarius Smith, and Buck Allen is a free agent next year.
C.J. Mosley's not going anywhere, so you can say the rest of the guys on that list are free agents because they're going to tag C.J. Mosley if they don't work a deal out with him.
Oh, I agree. But you're going to have Suggs as a free agent. You may have to re-sign him.
I probably wouldn't. Unless he's willing to take a team-friendly deal, I think he's going to get the Ed Reed treatment.
It is too early to talk this. I cannot talk
That's
free
true.
agency right now.
That's true. This is way too early to talk about free agents. I agree. All right. We'll move on. So here's my what if for you real quickly. If the Ravens do lose the next 3 games, should they start Lamar Jackson? Now they got the Titans, like Al said. They got the Saints and they got the Panthers. And then the Steelers. That's 4, but I'm going to say the next 3. So if this team is not any better, do you start Lamar Jackson for 3-6? Al? 3-6.
No, because I'm hoping that you can catch some lightning in a bottle at the end of the season and still get to 9-7 roughly, and get into the playoffs, even maybe 8-8. Hopefully, because nobody's a clear front runner in the AFC right now. So no, I'm still sticking with Flacco. I'm not even a fan of these Lamar Jackson packages anymore because he never throws the football. It's just some sort of run to get him out on the edge from a speed perspective. And so no, I'm not. Let Flacco play the year out. Let Lamar Jackson sit, and then hopefully you get a Patrick Mahomes type situation next year.
All right, Vince.
I mean, this is so absurd anyway, but no, of course not. I mean, the premise of the question is, I mean, I think absurd, but
Just a what if. It's going off of Al's play. I have another question next, but it's a better one. But go ahead.
I know after a loss, it feels like you're going to lose every game. After a win, it feels like you're going to win every game. But this is the NFL, so shit like that happens, like last week. But no, even if they're 3-6, like Al said, look at who would be potentially fighting for like the second wild card. I mean, it's too early to look at it, but I mean, there are not that many good teams in the AFC. I mean, who are you talking about? I'll tell you what, this Titans game is critical because I think that might end up being something if we do have to settle for the wild card, which I hope we don't, because I think, as long as we'll see about Cincinnati this week, I think I'm really interested to see if they can beat Pittsburgh, because if they can beat Pittsburgh, then maybe they are for real. But excuse me. But if not, I think that the division's first, but we'll see. I mean, but no one's going away, and you look at this, what the playoff picture would be. We could go 3-6 and then finish 7-9. Why not? I mean, that could happen for sure. Or 9-7. I mean, so I think at the end of the day, this question is stupid anyway. So let's move on.
Yeah. Rob, we all know you want to start Lamar Jackson. So what's the next question?
Just asking Bill. Give Bill his quick chance.
Oh, and let me chime in on the Lamar package. I mean, I haven't really talked about it at all, but obviously I agree with you guys that it is not working right now, and to me, I don't know. I mean, I like some of it in the red zone. I mean, I think that is where I think I would keep it, but it just seems like they don't have a plan of when to insert them, and it just becomes too haphazard. And I just, I think the point was made earlier. It's not well thought out at this point, and I think they're not even like making like combination plays, off the same look, where one's a read option, you do one's a pass, one's you can throw a screen off it, you can throw, it's not really. I mean, it does not seem that inventive at all right now. I don't know. It's just way below expectations. I mean, Lamar hasn't been able to make anything happen on his own either, but I mean, I don't think he's really been given much of a chance. But the whole thing just it does not seem well thought out, and hopefully they can figure it out, because I think they want to use their weapons, but frankly, we have too many other weapons. So I mean, this needs to start producing, or it needs to stop.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the schedule thing, I'm not. I know you want to start Lamar Jackson, Rob. I don't want to start Lamar Jackson. The next 3 games, obviously, I do not want to lose the next 3 games by any means. But losing the next 3 games is a very different conversation than losing the next 4, because game number 4 is the Steelers. So we can lose to the Titans, Saints, and Panthers, and still come back. And if we put a whooping on the Steelers and Bengals, and we end if we're 3-5 headed into the Steelers week, and come out of the Steelers and Bengals 5-5 with wins against 2 wins against the Steelers and a W against the Bengals, then I'll feel a lot better than I did. But if we lose against the Steelers, if we're 3-6 after 9 weeks, and that's going into the bye week, man, I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to Jackson, but as a fan, I'm not feeling good about the season. Like the season's over at that point, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we could turn it around and go 9-7 and maybe back in. But if we got our ass whipped all, I don't know, against playing decent teams, I mean, I don't know. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is not your Lamar Jackson part there. It's if the offensive line doesn't get better. He has played behind a bad offensive line in college a lot. He may be able to get this team moving. That would be my main point. But we'll move on to the next question. Who are the top 4 AFC teams? Hey, why not? If you're in there, where do you put us? And if you're in the top 4, so kind of a power rankings for the AFC. Who are the best teams in AFC? And do you think we could beat the number 1 team on your list? So I'll throw it to I'll start it off myself this time. Actually, my top 4 teams: Kansas City #1. I think everyone agrees with that. Jacksonville, I think you kind of forget about them. They're obviously #2. That defense is great. #3 is probably going to end up being the Cincinnati Bengals for me. Where do I put us? I can actually put us at #4 for my top 4 teams in AFC. I don't think we can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think we can beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think we can beat the Cincinnati Bengals. But that's kind of my AFC power rankings. So I'll toss it over to Vince. Who are your top 4 AFC teams, and can we beat #1?
Top 4. All right, so I'll go KC 1. Did you not put New England in your top 4? I mean,
That is correct.
I did hear that, right? All right. Well, there'll be 2. I mean, and you'll see they'll probably beat the Chiefs this weekend, and then we'll see about your top 4. So, well, or whenever. I think that's this weekend, right? Yeah, I think so. But #3 would be Bengals, and #4 would be us. I don't like Jacksonville at all, to be honest. I mean, I think Blake Bortles is still a liability. I don't like what they're doing. They're inconsistent. Fournette is, in and out of the lineup. They're a very pedestrian offense. I mean, and that defense is only going to take you so far. And, I mean, they may very well win that division, but I don't see them as a big serious threat in the AFC. Not yet. I mean, I know they got to the championship, but that was they had a magical year last year, and to me, I see them taking a bit of a. I didn't like what I saw against Kansas City, that's for sure, and they laid an egg against I think Tennessee earlier, and so to me, I don't see it.
All right, Al.
Yeah, I'm kind of going in that same order pretty much. I mean, the Chiefs you have to respect. They're 5-0, right? They're 5-0 right now, so they're going to be a playoff team. I mean, you can't count out New England. New England's 3-2. They're the best team in that division. They kind of showed that the Dolphins are a pretender. 2 weeks ago? So New England's obviously the second team. The Bengals at 4-1. I mean, the Bengals have won a few shootouts, but they're making plays when they need to make plays. So I'm going with the Bengals, and then yeah, I'm at the Ravens. I mean, we'll find out about the Titans, of course this weekend, but I just don't think the Titans are that good of a team. And Blake Bortles will continue to handicap the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in a Baltimore Ravens, Kyle Bowler type of situation where you have one of the best defenses in the league, and you have a quarterback that's so inept that you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it to a Super Bowl. I mean, Jacksonville will be good enough to be a playoff team, but outside of that 4-touchdown game that he kind of blew up against New England, and I think that New England game was just they had that game circled on their calendar. I mean, they lost that game, that opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, and everybody in Jacksonville got up for that game, and the game was at home. So he threw 4 touchdowns. I mean, outside of that game, I mean he's got four touchdowns and 5 picks. So you can't count on Blake Bortles to help lead that team to wins because he turns the ball over and doesn't manage the game well. So I'm at the same with my top 4 as Vince.
All right. Can your Baltimore Ravens beat the Kansas City Chiefs?
We'll find out on December. What's that, 9th?
I forgot to chime in on that. We can. We wouldn't be favorites if that's what you're asking, but we can beat anyone. We can also lose anyone. I mean,
it's in Kansas City.
I mean, I think the Ravens have the talent. I mean, I mean, you've got some home run hitters there with Tariq Hill, Kareem Hunt. Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey are going to have to do a great job against Tariq Hill, and Eric Weddle's got to step up. I mean, he can't continue to chase the play.
All right, I'm going to toss it over to Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I have to put the Chiefs 1 because they're undefeated, but the Patriots are 1. Until somebody beats the Patriots are 1. And so
2 teams have beaten them.
No, not in September, man. Not in September. In January. Yeah, the Patriots are 1. The Chiefs are 1B because they are undefeated, and then I think the last 2 are whoever survives between us, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. I don't count Pittsburgh out yet. Their defense is going to play better sooner or later. They have a lot of young talent on that defense. Like, yeah, they're going to have to protect over the top against Burns and whatever the rookie's safety's name is, the kid, the brother of the Virginia Tech guy. But Edmonds, they're going to have to protect – because they've got young Pitt players in the secondary, but I don't count Pittsburgh out. And despite the fact that I don't think Cincinnati is ever going to do anything with the redheaded devil Ginger at quarterback, they've scored the second most points in the AFC right now behind the Chiefs. That's not nothing, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain. And I think that that he's a choke artist in general, but I wouldn't put it past Dalton to pull magic out of a hat. I would not put it past that. The team is good enough around Dalton that if Dalton just doesn't F it up one year, they might sneak a Super Bowl in. I don't put it past him, but I think Dalton is a choke artist. He's going to have to catch lightning in a bottle, and I don't like it. So I think it's going to be the Patriots, us, and Pittsburgh at the end of the year. We'll see I mean, Mahomes, I mean, it's hard not to be like, wow, this guy's insane. But also this is his first, film. Like, this is his first time through. We'll see how he does the second time he faces the Raiders, or we'll see how he does the second time he faces whoever after there's a bunch of tape on him. So we'll see. But yeah, until somebody beats the Patriots in January, it's the Patriots. Sad as it is to say.
All right. I'll do the last question here because we'll probably do the next podcast just after week 9, just before the bye week, because that's a good time to do it. So obviously you guys know we got the Titans, the Saints, and the Panthers. So let's do your prediction. What's our record when we come to the bye?
I'm going 2-1.
Who do we lose to?
Hang on. Before we start, the bye is after the Pittsburgh game. That's four games, not 3.
Oh, it's a 4. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see him on week 9. Okay. So we have up till Pittsburgh. So, okay. 4 games. You got the Steelers, you got the Panthers, you got the Saints, you got the Titans. So in 4 weeks, right now we're 3-2. What's our record? Who do we lose to?
So if we're going 4 weeks now, I'm probably going 2-2. Like, I'll be happy if they come out of this 500. Who do I think they lose to? I think the Panthers beat them in Carolina. I think the Ravens are going to beat the Saints here. Breeze is just not as good on the road. I think they get a win. I think they get a win against the Saints here in Baltimore. And I think they win against Tennessee. The one that's up in the air for me is the Pittsburgh game, because I think Pittsburgh's going to come down here and want to kind of redeem themselves for that trash performance that they put up in Pittsburgh. So I think they win 2 and then they lose 2.
So we're 5-4.
Yep.
All right, Vince.
Predictions. I'll go 3-1, and I'll have them losing to the Panthers. I think they can get Tennessee. I have not been impressed with Tennessee at all this year. I've considered them frauds for a while. They snuck that. They snuck a few games in that Jacksonville won. There was another one they snuck in that they didn't really outplay. Even the Eagles game, that was another one that was kind of back and forth. They kind of got that one, but I mean, I thought they got exposed against the Bills. Mariota does not look right. I don't think he is a big threat. I think our defense should be able to swarm the run. I mean, hopefully just stop the run, and I don't really see too many weapons that really scare me too much. So hopefully we can this is a big game. I think, like I said, it's going to have some wild card implications if that's, the route we ultimately have to go, if Cincinnati really is for real, and we'll see about Pittsburgh. But I think we can get this one. And then I think Al's right about the Saints, and Breeze. I mean, I think that'll be it'll be a tough assignment, but they're just not the same, and I don't feel like they're packing the same formula like that they did last year with the run game. I mean, I know Mark Ingram's just coming back, but I don't know. I mean, home games we got to hold serve. So I mean that'll be a tough one, but I think the Carolina one will just be tricky because on the road, if we were to win our next two games, I could just see that being one that, we're looking ahead to Pittsburgh. It's just a slog of a game. You go down there, Cam mucks it up and scores a few, and we end up losing. But then I think what really will define our season either way will be, can we seal the deal and win that home game against the Steelers? Because, at the end of if we don't get that, then the Heinz Field win does not mean anything. So, regardless of if we go 2-1, 1-2, I think Bill made the point. I mean, that Steelers game is really, that is going to be a big defining game for us before the bye. So, I could definitely see us, overlooking Carolina, but then coming back for that one and proving that we have turned the corner and validated that we will be a playoff team this year and a team to contend with. And I think we got to win a few of these games and go into the bye 6-3. I mean, I think 5-4 would be acceptable, but I think it would also be, kind of same old to a certain extent. I think we need to win 3 out of these 4, get to 6-3, and really feel good that we've turned the corner.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Going into the bye 5-4 will feel like this is what we always do. Like, it will go into the bye 5-4, come out, oh, we shit the bed against the Chargers or something. It's like, we were gonna get 11-5, but instead we got 10-6 because we lost to the Chargers and the Buccaneers on the road. Like that's what we always do. And so, I think the next 4 games, I call it, as I see it, 3-1. I think we lose to the Saints. I think Breeze gets the ball out too fast. He's going to neutralize our pass rush, and he's just too good. I just think Breeze is too good. So, I mean, our defense, if they play at the top of their game, then we can definitely beat the Saints. It's not like I think they're going to slap us around, but Breeze is so good. He has the potential to slice and dice us if we let him. It's easy to be like, it's all Breeze, but Thomas is a superstar. And I badly wanted Cameron Meredith, and he's not even like really like the focal point of that offense in any way. And then, you know, Kamara, and you got Ingram coming back. Like, they've got a lot of players down there that are pretty good. So it's not just Breeze, although Breeze definitely runs a show. So yeah, I call it 3-1 going into the bye, lose to the Saints. I just think the Tennessee doesn't have enough offense. Their defense is actually pretty damn good. It's actually, I think, as good as the Jaguars defense this year. Not, you know, last year's Jaguars defense, but they're living off reputation right now. The Titans defense, I think, is as good as the Jaguars, but the Titans don't have any offense. They're not going to beat us. They won't beat us. And I think Cam in Carolina is exactly the type of quarterback that does not have success against us. We do pretty well bottling that kind of stuff up because our defense, above all else, is pretty disciplined, especially with Mosley on the field. If Mosley was off the field, maybe Cam would get some holes. But I think with Mosley on the field, Cam is neutralized. And then the Steelers, if we can't get up and beat the Steelers at home, like Steelers in our own house, then we're not going to do anything no matter what we do. So hopefully.
All right, my turn. All right. I'll be the guy who does the surprise pick. We go 4-0. I think we actually do. Here's the reason why. Ravens are 5-1 versus the Saints all time. That includes Drew Brees. We're 3-2 against the Panthers, and that includes a win against Cam Newton. Steelers, we get them at home. I think the Steelers, no Le'Veon Bell. They got Connor back. I think we get them at home. This team is supercharged. 4-0. The Ravens end up 7-2 just before the bye.
Just so you know, it is not a surprise. That was not a surprise prediction.
It was not a surprise.
I would have been more surprised if you had not said 4-0.
Yeah, agreed.
Go ahead, Al. You had a comment?
Yeah, the only surprise I was expecting was the Ravens lose every game, start Lamar Jackson, and then they come back and win every game and get in the playoffs.
Well, you know, deep down, that's what.
I'm being more realistic. I think
in the inner soul of Rob, that's what he's looking for.
Here's what I'm gonna say: if Flacco spreads the ball out more, like he's supposed to.
Hang on. We got to get a hot take, Rob.
Right.
Which would you rather have? 4-0 under Flacco, 3-1 under Lamar Jackson. Go.
Lamar Jackson.
You'd rather lose a game just so Lamar Jackson can play.
No, come on. Right now, obviously, Flacco is playing very good football this particular season. 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I will throw one last thing out since we have the Tennessee game coming up. And if you want to push it on beyond, in the next 4 games, does Joe Flacco over under 7 touchdown passes? I was going to throw it out there. Just for the last question. Over and under 7 touchdown passes, next 4 games, Joe Flacco. Al.
Yeah, I think he gets 7. I mean, that Pittsburgh secondary still sucks. They're not getting any better. I mean, TJ Watt had a great game last week, and I think he helped mask some things that are going on in that secondary. But that's still a bad secondary up there. So I think he should throw for a few touchdown passes against that group. I wouldn't be surprised if he can get at least 2 in that Panthers game as well. So I think he should be able to make some plays. I think the toughest secondary he's going to face is the one this week in this Titans game, I think.
All right, Vince.
I'm over 7.
You got over. I got you. Vince?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think so. I mean, I hate these stats questions anyway, but I mean, I think between the Saints and the Steelers, he might get there. I mean, the Saints, the 2 home games, again, and we saw what the Steelers D was. I mean, we'll see what they can round into form. I question some of that young talent. I don't know. I think Shazier was the glue that held that together, and they have not been the same defense since he's been gone. I mean, and that's just the bottom line, and they haven't figured it out yet. So I don't know if they're going to magically figure it out, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, this weekend will be tough. I think Tennessee will have I think they have a pretty good defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if, it was a bit of a slugfest there and, kind of an uglier game. We'll see, though. I mean, I hope not, but I could see that, being more a game that, and I agree to Bill's point, they just, we should be able to control it on defense and then do enough on offense. But, hey, I think he goes over 7. I mean, he's
over 7. All right, Bill.
He has 8 touchdowns in the first 5, and we're looking at 7 in the next 4. Is that right? That's what we're asking.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a push. I'm gonna go push. He's gonna get 7 because the Carolina Panthers are not a good defense. They're giving up the 4th most yards per play. What is it? It's 6.8 or something per play. And the Saints are not a good defense. And Pittsburgh is obviously not a good secondary. The Titans are a good defense. So if he gets a couple this weekend, then I would say, yeah, he's probably going to go over 7. But right now, I think it's probably going to be a push. I think at some point we're going to have to be like, we're going to run the ball, and it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to run the ball, period, no matter what. We got to commit to this thing at some point. And, if we can do that, it's going to get everything on track. So I'm going to go push. I'm going to say push, 7 touchdowns exactly.
Yeah. And Rob Flacco might get it in the Saints and Steelers games all in one, because the Steelers defense has given up 13 passing touchdowns this year, and the Saints have given up 11.
All right. Well, I'm going to use a statistic that Vincent liked to use, which is the red zone. Those first 4 games, they were perfect. So I'm actually going to also go over the 7. In fact, I'll even go as high as 12 touchdowns in the next 4 games for Joe Flacco.
That's rich.
That's a little much.
Okay, so a quarterback that's only thrown over 20 touchdowns a handful of times.
I mean,
all of a sudden have 20 at the bye.
He's going to average 3 a game for the next 4 games. Average?
Yeah. Hey, hang on.
Come on, man.
Hang on.
I think you might have been replaced by some kind of, doppelganger, because aren't you the guy that was like, Joe Flacco's never had a game where he threw for more than 1 touchdown in his whole life? Are you the same guy? I'm sorry, I don't know who you are.
Yes, I am. Let me come back to it.
He's doing it to set false high expectations.
37 games since Flacco didn't have 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's setting these false high expectations. So when he's like, "Oh, he only threw for 7," and then
hang on, they have Hayden Hurst coming in. I think they're going to spread it around more to the tight ends. I think they're going to spread it out a little bit more. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think he actually ends up throwing 12 touchdowns. I'm not joking around. Not trying to set him up for failure. I am honestly saying I think he will actually end up throwing 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions over the course of the next 4 games. I kid you not. I think he's motivated. I think you guys are right. He's highly motivated with Lamar Jackson.
Well, you're right. You're right that thing.
All right.
There we go. Okay. Had to unmute myself.
One last thing. I had to look it up just to make sure my stats are right. even the Super Bowl year, the insane run that he went on that won us in 2012, he only had 11 touchdowns in that 4-yard span. He is not getting 12 touchdowns over the next 4 games. I don't care if he's playing against the Pee Wee teams.
If I'm right, Vince will buy his all Outback.
There is no way. Why am I buying it?
Rob,
Joe Flacco's your guy.
Rob, if you're right and he passes for more than 12, so you say he's going to pass for 12?
I said 12 touchdowns over the next 4 games.
All right, I'll buy everybody Outback for that.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking through. I'm very quickly looking through. Like I'm trying to find in his entire career if he's ever. What was the year Kubiak was here?
That was 2014.
Rob's saying he's gonna have 20 touchdowns in week 9. Like,
yeah, I'm looking. All right. So, okay. So 12. The closest he got in the Kubiak year was 10. He had 10 over 4 games, and that included a 5-touchdown game against Tampa Bay. So he's never had a game where he did 12, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I don't even think he's thrown for 30 touchdowns in a season in his career.
No, he never did.
It's not.
No.
So for 27, so he's ever thrown for.
So you're saying he's going to be at 20 in week? No way. Sorry.
Well, hang on. You said you buy everybody here Outback. If I'm correct, he's got to throw 12 or more touchdowns in the next 4 games.
If you're wrong,
There's no chance.
Rob, if you're wrong, you're buying Outback.
What did you say?
I said if you're wrong, you're buying Outback.
I never agreed to this term, sir.
Yeah, he's had 10 a couple of times. He's never had 11. He's never had 12 in a 4-game stretch in his career.
Okay. Well, my prediction is 12 touchdowns over the next 4 games. I'm going to stick to it. I think you're going to be shocked.
I like it. I am. I am going to be shocked.
Be prepared to be shocked. And Al will say you might as well Outback if that happens.
Sweet. Looking forward to it.
we'll be at least 3-1. I know that. If that happens.
I call dibs on 2 blooming onions.
They'll be 4-0 with those numbers, but I doubt that's happening.
I said before, we will be 4-0. We'll throw 12 plus. All right. Well, then next time we'll do this is right after the Pittsburgh game, unless you want to do it just before.
No, I'm good with after the.
Yeah, let's do it after. Heading into the bye.
After it, just before the bye.
At the bye. Yeah.
At the bye. All right. We'll have a lot of. Hopefully, we are not 3-6, and we suck. So let's hope that does not happen. All right. And